Hello, everybody, and welcome to an all-new episode of Press YYZ. We're the only Canadian gaming podcast that you can catch live on Twitch every Wednesday, or sometimes on Thursday at 8 p.m. EST, or sometimes at 9 p.m. EST. As well as on podcast services and YouTube every Thursday, in this case, Friday, because we had to delay everything because yours truly had a birthday sister party that I needed to attend. My name... Oh, don't do that. She might be listening in, and she might actually take offense at that. My name... No, it's fine. My name is Alexander Kazina, a.k.a. Kozi Bear, and I am joined today by the initiated one, the affiliated Nathan McInerney.
I did it!
Yeah, you did. You don't have anything else to say? You don't have a big, grandiose speech commending everybody for helping get you on this journey and how you look forward to becoming a partner within the next month or so?
I like to thank myself for all the hard work I did.
Good job.
I'd like to continue to thank myself more. No, I'm kidding. Thank you to everybody. I wrote a tweet about it, but thank you to everybody who has helped me. Whether you're still listening to this podcast or not, or still in my life, like there's a lot of people that I managed to take things away from and see what they did. And yeah, I'm pretty happy within the month getting to affiliate. It was a bit of hard work, and the work's just started. I know, Kozi, you're joking about being partner in a month. That's going to take a lot longer. But it is on my goal list. So yeah, if you haven't checked me out yet, twitch.tv/the_nmag, just drop me a follow and tune in for some streams. We're having some fun. We had Matt from Assemble on Thursday this week, and we were playing wrestling together, and we had a lot of fun just doing stupid matches against each other. It was a good time. We played an Iron Man match, and I brought a kendo stick into the ring, and he did not realize that was disqualification worthy, and he hit it with me 3 times and took three losses.
Oh.
So,
wow.
It was very funny. So, and then last night I played Forza Horizon 5
we're
with
just
Kyle.
getting right into the self-promotion part of the show. We haven't even introduced this other person that's here, Nathan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You've let it get to your head, sir. From here on out, ahead of this show, we sometimes talk about the ways in which we want to introduce each other. You said, I want to be introduced as the affiliated or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. I think that we're going to have to take that privilege away from you for the next couple of episodes. Not until you learn how to behave.
No. Yeah, okay.
Joining me, and the man who was formerly known as the affiliated Nathan McInerney, is the head of Party Rock, AJ Fraser.
I don't know how to respond to that one.
Now you have to start seeing this on Party Rock.
I don't want to.
In the Run a Show document,
Party
that is one of the names associated
somebody put
with
that
you.
there?
Yeah.
Somebody put that there?
I'll just read through all of them. First, we have the Frightening AJ Fraser, which that must have been like a Halloween one, but I definitely said that on a non-Halloween episode once, not really realizing it. Yeah. There's Head is in the Clouds. That's like the classic one.
Yeah, that's the classic. Like that's just me all the time. My head is always in the clouds. Speaking of clouds, Stadia,
Right.
I like that.
There's The Inverted, which...
The correct way to have your right thumbstick vertical look.
Right. Got it.
That's something.
There's the Man of Many Props, which I get because like you're often the person on the show who's most likely to bring some like cool new piece of physical tech to kind of show off.
I feel like these days that should go to Nathan because he's got like Legos and shit.
That's true. And then there is, of course, the Thumbnail Thespian, because you're the man responsible for all of our thumbnails across Twitch and YouTube.
Correct.
And then, at the very bottom, the head of Party Rock. I saw it.
How did that get there? Is it the long hair and the beard all of a sudden? Like, I don't know.
It's a mystery. Before we get started, a reminder as always that we here at Press YZ stand against discrimination of any kind. While we appreciate however you choose to give back to our show, there's no way to support us better than by being excellent to each other. Housekeeping. You may have noticed that for the past few weeks, both Mitch George and Alex Ballant have not been present with us on the podcast. AJ, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, a while ago, Alex let us know that he'd be stepping away to really mostly for him, like, focus on school. He was already preoccupied and pretty busy with it, and he had to kind of come up with his priorities for that.
School's important.
School's important, and it looks like he's making some big fucking moves over in the film world. I don't know if you guys saw his recent demo reel. It's pretty rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then today, Mitch decided to announce that he would also be stepping away. He posted a post on Twitter. I'm just gonna read it here verbatim, so nobody's putting any words in anybody's mouth.
Yeah. Just in case you're a more recent listener of the show, you can find Mitch on Twitter at Mr. Mitch George.
Mr. Mitch George. Mr. Mitch George. Capital M, capital M, capital G. All right. I haven't been around Press YYZ much lately. If you care, you deserve an update. I've been feeling very burnt out with gaming over the last year, and that extends to the podcast. I have made the decision to step away from Press YYZ. I appreciate the friendships I've forged through that podcast, but my heart just isn't in it the way it once was. It's a personal struggle I've been fighting with for a while, but it's the right thing for everyone involved. I don't know what's next for me in the gaming space. Intermittent streams will continue, but I'll be loud and obnoxious about it when I know. Heart emoji. So yeah, that's Mitch's statement. If anybody's curious, like, we're all still friends. We're all still on good terms. Like, everybody's mental health has to come first. And, if you need to take a break, much like Kozi, like, yes, it was a family related thing, but, sometimes you do need to just take a break from running the show every once in a while. And, like, you deserve that. And Nathan, you deserve to take a break if you ever need it, to spend time with the dog or with the family. And, my health stuff gets in the way. Sometimes I need to step away and take a break or what have you. But as Mitch said here, it's kind of like a gaming burnout overall, which I think all of us can kind of relate to. It happens from time to time. As you get older, life happens. A lot of personal things happen in life, and you just can't invest the time that you think you want to. And then when you try to, it just doesn't feel good anymore. So yeah, all the best to Mitch. Chatting with him, we're definitely going to get him back on here for some sort of episode closing him out at the very least, and we'll try to see if we can get just a little bit of a send off. But we'll try to get Alex in here as well. A good reunion episode, maybe. Maybe we should show up with our favorite clips of, like, the past 2 years or something. I don't know, but.
We love the guys, and we just want what's best for them. And you guys should go follow Mitch at Mr. Mitch George on Twitter and Twitch, and all the socials. That's where he is. And give him some love during his streams. He's great, and
Absolutely.
We're going to miss him. We're going to miss him on the podcast, but we want whatever he needs and whatever is best for him. So just send him some love. Same with Alex Ballant. Blatantly Alex. They're both great, and we're gonna miss them. And it's bittersweet.
Indeed. It's kind of tough to transition to whatever you want to talk about next after a strong emotional beat like that. But very quickly, last weekend, I completed my final Kozi Bears cooking stream. As part of Kozi Bears Cooking Season 3. And I've been thinking about getting back into streaming some of them video games over on twitch.tv/KoziBear Live, but I've not yet figured out exactly what I want to do. Towards the end of my kind of 10 years streaming video games there, I was beginning to kind of feel a little bit burnt out, like I was just sort of checking in for the sake of streaming. And so I want to do something new that feels invigorating and fresh and motivating to me. But I've not quite cracked what that nut is. But there is entertainment coming along the way on that channel. So please stand by if you enjoy watching my Twitch antics over there. Finally, last but not least, we are going to be talking about Zero Escape Virtue's Last Reward on this episode because it was our Press YYZ reviewy game over the course of the past 3 weeks. But of course, that means that we now have to select what our next YYZ reviewy game is over the course of the next 2 weeks. So culminating in our episode that is going to be on the 4th of May, we are going to be playing and reviewing Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion, which is a game I had heard of prior to AJ and Nathan bringing it up ahead of tonight's show, but I really don't know what it could possibly be about other than exactly what it says it's about. So this is going to be fun.
Time to Beat says it like full completion should take about 3 hours. Story completion should take 2, so it should be a good quick one if we can make the time for it. So
maybe one solid stream.
Maybe.
From beginning to end, I'm just saying.
Yeah. So go and check it out on Xbox Game Pass or wherever it is that you can play Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. Maybe in a couple of days, no other platforms, because that tax evasion is going to get him real bad. Okay, that was a very modest laugh. That was not one of my best jokes, if I got to be honest.
It'll do. It was fine.
So what have you been up to over the course of the past week? AJ?
Oh boy. So moving into a new place still takes a long time. Like we've got most of our main living space set up and all that, but this office is still a mess. So that would be the next project we're going to do. But it's been really just sort of been a lot of that and a lot of I've been playing a little Breath of the Wild, here and there. Like I said, I started it over and I'm going to try and actually make it to the end this time. But I haven't been able to put as much time into that as I'd like. In terms of games, like that's really the only game I've been able to put any sort of like commitment to, personally. Because it, like I said, it takes months to feel actually moved in. But we're slowly getting there. Oh, and at work is really tiring. I've got 4 trainees that I'm training in my department at the same time, and that is fucking exhausting.
Man, when we all just get so old and so tired.
Oh my god.
Nathan, you have to save this conversation. Inject a little bit more life into it. Say something.
Great. Pineapple sucks on pizza.
Oh, that's like a season 1 Press YYZ joke. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Bring the classics back.
I don't know.
It's not a joke. It's truth.
I wonder if it's free. There is an episode on giantbomb.com. Yeah, I think it's a free episode. I'm just going to post you the link in the podcast chat in the thing. But it's called... It's the Very Online Show. It's a show where Tamor Hussein, Lucy James, and Jeff Bacalar all talk about... It's 2 very online people trying to talk to somebody who's not very online about very online things. And so... the newest episode, I haven't watched it yet, is called Pineapple on Pizza and the Psychology of Online Debates. Highly recommend checking out giantbomb.com.
Interesting.
The Very Online Show. It's a good, like, kind of off the topic of games sort of show to take a look at.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I will say, I pulled up the video right now. That thumbnail, that is a particularly aggressive slice of pineapple on pizza. I don't think
that might be a little much even for me.
I don't think the person that made that slice of pizza was trying to be legitimate in their thoughts and virtuosity and promoting the not so bad benefits of pineapple on pizza, IMO.
Yeah. Yeah.
What have you actually been up to, Nathan?
Man, I've been streaming a lot. That's pretty much all I've done. I played some more Grand Theft Auto 5.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Have you guys heard of this game?
No,
It's a
what is
small
that?
indie game.
That thing is 9 years old.
We're all getting old.
Are we?
Grand Theft Auto
it's the
5
theme
is
of this
9 years
episode.
old.
So yeah, it came out in 2013. That's where I played on PS3. Well, now I'm playing it on PS. I played on PS4 all the way, and I'm going to finish it on PS5. I just got from Trevor into Los Santos.
That's a good part.
Have you guys? How much? I don't even know. How much time have you guys invested in Grand Theft Auto 5? Have you beat it?
Grand Theft Auto 5 is one of those games that I've only exclusively played at like demo kiosks or at like streamer parties where they have it like set up for people to play, and I've only played like, I don't know, like 5 minutes of like the opening mission at that one like snowy town.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
For me, it's one of those open worlds that makes it hard to progress in the story because it's so easy to get distracted. For me personally, as somebody who actually lived in California for a while, and I was only 3 hours away from LA, so like I'd go to LA all the time. As a kid, getting to run around Los Santos and be in some very familiar online spaces, like very familiar spaces in the game, is actually like very very nostalgic for me. Specifically down in the equivalent to whatever where the Santa Monica Pier is typically where I'll go hang out if I go to LA, in the Santa Monica area, and so I try to go to that same area in the game, and just sort of drive around, hang out on the beach, what have you, walk around there's a big cliffside, right by the highway, and across from that cliffside, beside the highway are these really interesting like beachfront houses, and those specific houses are like very well represented in the game and in real life. But and so that area is like very nostalgic for me. In terms of the actual game itself, I never finished it, but I did get to the torture scene at one point. And then by that point, that's when the GTA Online came out. I tried playing that, got really into it for about a week, and then they had that bad online save deleting glitch or whatever, where the servers were so busted they'd delete your saves.
Yeah.
And I've had a hard time picking it back up and playing it in any serious capacity ever since, because I got very attached to that first playthrough at the very beginning. Like, I could still be playing it today if that glitch didn't happen. Like, I had that much fun with it, and it just killed it for me.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The last time that I like really majorly connected with the Grand Theft Auto series was with San Andreas on the PS2. My cousin Jordan, who's the same cousin that I got like my original SNES from, and later on who bequeathed me his PlayStation 2, he used to have it at his house. Whenever I would come over for a party, I would inevitably end up playing it, and I had a lot of fun just sort of rampaging around town in that game, like driving motorcycles down hills really fast so that I would flip over midway through, just doing wacky inane shit like that. And then when he bequeathed me his PlayStation 2, he gave me San Andreas as well, because he's not the kind of guy that's like really dedicated to gaming in the way that like we are, and we would never like give away our stuff like that. And I remember just popping it in, and mind you, this is like 2009, so like at this point San Andreas did not feel quite as modern as it did when it first came out, but the game just did not kind of hold quite the same appeal that it did playing it at his house back in the day, and I've not really kind of been back to the series since. I would definitely like. There will definitely be some point in the future on which I give GTA 5 an honest shot, but I don't know necessarily how long I'm going to stick with it.
All right, well, give it a shot. I really like the story for GTA 5. I think the 3 protagonists work really well and have very different stories. It's one of my favorite games of all time. In fact, like I'm doing a third playthrough of it. So yeah. You can tell this is a PS3 game that's been uprised
I was just going to
twice
ask about
though.
that. Yeah.
It still doesn't feel like the most fluid game ever, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So but it's still fun to play. It's still good, and the story is still great. It's really I actually had a really awkward conversation with my mother where she asked me about Grand Theft Auto on. I guess one of her friends on a Facebook post talked about how terrible Grand Theft Auto was, and she wanted to ask me.
Oh man, you're just giving me flashbacks to fucking the early 2000s with Jack Thompson being a shithead and
right.
Yeah.
Was he a congressman or a senator or something like that?
Yeah,
I can't remember. Or a
like
lawyer, or just a stupid lawyer in the States. And
I think he was
a
a
jerk.
lawyer. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, she's like, my friend posted, and your kids play that? And I'm like, no, they don't play that. I'm a responsible parent who controls what they play and knows what they play and know what's appropriate.
Right.
And I'm like, I play it. I really like Grand Theft Auto. And then she's like, my friend says that there's like fellatio in it and masturbation and and I'm like,
great. Yeah, you don't. Well, first of all, you don't see it, Mom. Second, if you can kill the hooker and get your money back, so
yeah,
proper life lesson there.
I think even. Sorry, I'm just gonna pick my pup up for a second.
Yep,
not a problem.
Bring the butt. Oh yeah, there we go.
Floor over there.
That's the stuff we want to see. Give him the full screen, Kozi.
Oh.
She pooed on the floor, so I got to clean that up because it's starting to smell.
Oh no!
Good.
Yeah, you're supposed to tell me when you need to poo. Well, I think you did, but like I tried to take you out before we started, and you didn't want to go then. That's not helpful to me now, is it? So I'm gonna have to go clean up a poop in a second. But let's get past the segment. I'll hold her while we're doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, no. So yeah, no. Grand Theft Auto is great. It's one of those games with a really good story. Really, and yeah, telling my mom about it. I told her I'd let her see Grand Theft Auto because I still think it's one of the best games ever made.
Take her for a tour around LA with that. That might actually work. I did that with Rachel, and she thought that was super cool because we went there.
No, because they've actually got a tour bus which you go on, and they've got scripted lines on the tour bus telling you about Vinewood.
Yeah,
when you're in the tour bus, my assumption is that you're not controlling the bus, right? Because like
it's moved. The bus is you go on as like a passenger.
Got it. Because like, and mind you, like there are some people that are better at this than others, but like I've tried to play these open world games where you just drive around and try to act like a normal pedestrian, and it feels like the entire game kind of pushes you to like commit crimes and perform acts that you shouldn't do. Like you can't just sort of drive your car at the traffic lights and like stop normally as you would expect to without other cars around you kind of forcing you into violence and crimes.
Yeah, there's like lots of activities. Like you can play golf, you can do yoga, like there's tennis, I believe. Like there's lots of activities that you can do in this game. So yeah, there's lots of things you can do in this game that have nothing to do with that, and that's kind of what I want to show her. Yeah, and I'm like, yes, there is death, and it's a crime noir story. Really, like it's about revenge and friendship and messed up friendship. But it's no different than what you'd see in a movie. And in terms of like the sexual stuff that goes on in the game, I would argue that there is nothing worse than what would be in 50 Shades of Grey,
which I'm sure
is perfectly acceptable to read for most people. And I'm not judging at all, but we kind of have a double standard.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the difference is you can read a book, but the argument is you're in control of this and you are doing the actions.
Oh, trust me, there's actions happening after people read 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's a fair point. It's very inspirational for a lot of that.
Yeah, couples get into bed and read that book, and it just gets them in the right mood together.
So, yeah. Okay. So you guys talk about something else. I'm going to go clean dog poo up. I'll be
Sure.
back.
It's almost
wait,
what?
I was going to say we can talk about Lego Star Wars a little bit too, because I've touched that.
Oh,
now.
okay.
But like when I get back from the dog. I forgot about that. So, all right. Let me go clean up a mess. Hazel.
AJ,
Hi.
I want to tell you something right here, right now, while Nathan can't hear me.
Okay.
I think that Nathan left the podcast not because he has to clean up some poop on the floor, but because he knows that we're in for a solid hour of Kingdom Hearts talk in just a minute, and he didn't want to be part of it.
Oh man, I mean, he was a big part of it last week. If you listen to the episode, you know,
yeah.
At the very least, you saw the thumbnail. What do you think happened in that? Based on last week's thumbnail, what do you think happened?
I think that our guest decided to bring up the Pam and Tommy sex tape TV show that's happening right now, and somehow that I think that got brought up first, and then I think that dovetailed into a discussion of Kingdom Hearts somehow because somebody made some reference to how Pam or Tommy is kind of like this stupid thing in Kingdom Hearts, and that just led to all sorts of shenanigans and hijinks.
You're close. So the Pam and Tommy thing was my idea.
Okay.
What happened was we were coming up with new worlds that they could visit in Kingdom Hearts 4 based on what is currently available in Disney Plus. Kevin was a little confused because I said the Pam and Tommy thing, but we get Stars here in Canada, and they have that on Hulu, I think, in the States. So the fact that it's in Disney Plus is a real interesting kind of revelation for a lot of people.
Disney Plus Canada fucks.
Yeah, absolutely.
True state of fact.
Absolutely. But case in point, right there. You got Tommy holding the Keyblade in the thumbnail. It plays itself.
Yeah, I would not be entirely opposed to that if Jason Mantzoukas voiced the Keyblade, because you know that he voices his penis on the show.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd be down with that. I really love, I really enjoy listening to the podcast How Did This Get Made, which is like a bad movie review podcast, and he's great on that show. So if he could be part of the Kingdom Hearts series, even in a very weird roundabout way like that, I'd be all for it. All right, let's get back on track. So yes, I've been playing a lot of Kingdom Hearts recently. Since last episode that I was on, I finally got around to platinuming Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. It was a very long but very enjoyable grind. I did do fuck. I'm just my brain is so overloaded with Kingdom Hearts that I couldn't even put together like a very basic sentence. I wasn't even trying to pronounce something particularly difficult. It was a very enjoyable grind, and I had a lot of fun with it. Around the time that I completed the platinum for that game, a trailer for a little game by the name of Kingdom Hearts 4 was released. And that got me pretty hyped to go back and check out Kingdom Hearts 3, which, if you can believe it, I had not played since I beat it when it came out back in 2019. The kind of long and short of it is I got into the Kingdom Hearts series in what would have been either late 2008 or 2009. And it's really funny because I remember at the time when I got into the series, you know, we were deep into the PlayStation 3 generation. I assumed it's probably going to be not that much longer until we eventually get Kingdom Hearts 3. Little did I know, I was jumping into the series in the middle of the wait between like looking at the kind of timeline of the series as a whole. Kingdom Hearts 1 releases in 2002, Kingdom Hearts 3 releases in 2019. I was jumping in the middle of that timeline. And the wait to get to Kingdom Hearts 3 was not that bad because we had a lot of spin-offs like Kingdom Hearts 3D for the 3DS and Birth by Sleep and Recoded, and we had the really good HD remasters 1.5 and 2.5 HD remix, and 2.8, and all sorts of random nonsense, which I know Nathan is just staring off into space right now wondering if I'm making this stuff up or not.
Well, I know what Kingdom Hearts is. I know the games are really. I don't know if you haven't listened to last week's episode, but we talked a lot about very important Kingdom Hearts stuff, didn't we, AJ?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
heard
We
some shrapnels of this conversation.
yeah. I gave him the TLDR on what the Pam and Tommy universe would be like in that Kingdom Hearts 4. So he seems pretty excited about it.
In any case, it was still a pretty long wait, even with all the games and re-releases between 2009 and 2019. And when I finally got Kingdom Hearts 3, it was this thing of catharsis where I played it, I beat it, and I was kind of like, okay, well, that's sort of like the book closing on this particular era of my life. Kingdom Hearts 3 is out. There will be more Kingdom Hearts games. This isn't the end of the saga, but like Kingdom Hearts 3, which used to be like this elusive title that nobody ever thought we would get, is now done and in the books. And so I kind of just walked away from it and did not touch it until literally like a week and like a couple of days ago. And yeah, my thoughts on the game remain extremely mixed. A little while ago, I did this Twitter thread thing where I like rated every single Kingdom Hearts game out of 10. And in that thread, like I did not give a single Kingdom Hearts game below an 8, because I think that the series is of a consistent enough quality that that's just kind of how I think it is. But I do think even then I kind of might have overrated Kingdom Hearts 3 slightly. I think I gave it like an 8.4 or an 8.6. I think it's ultimately a flat 8.0. The game has real high highs and it has real low lows. The critical path of making your way through the story, exploring the worlds of the Toy Box, which is the Toy Story world, and the Caribbean and the Monsters Inc. world, were really satisfying. And I think that the end of the game, where we really kind of get into the meat of the plot and we finally take down a bunch of kind of long-standing villains of the series, was again very emotionally satisfying, very cathartic. But I feel like there were just so many kind of bumps along the way, from Arendelle, which is the world of Frozen, which felt really gimped and really felt like Disney really kind of held Square Enix's leash on tight in terms of how much they could use that world and its characters appropriately, to just some of the movement controls in the game as a whole not feeling super great. Sora has like crazy parkour skills in Kingdom Hearts 3. He can like run up buildings and do all sorts of like zippy moves that far exceed whatever he was able to do in previous Kingdom Hearts games, but it just never quite felt as satisfying as something like even something like an early PlayStation 4 game like Infamous Second Son, for example. But I'll have a moment where I'm, in the middle of a not so great moment of parkour, and I'll turn the corner and I'll find the fake video game store inside the Toy Story world, and I'll just be utterly amazed all over again at how meticulously they rendered this video game store, how they made like 30 entirely unique made up games to populate the store with, and also included a section where they're selling like gaming headsets, because of course an actual video game store would sell gaming headsets. And I'm like, wow, this game has real low lows, but it has real high highs, and I ultimately have to respect those high highs. So yeah, that's Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm hoping that I can kind of get the rest of its trophies out of the way soon so that I can jump into Remind, which was the DLC that they released for the game a year on out, because apparently that has some like pretty satisfying like super bosses to take down and some tantalizing story bits that lead directly into Kingdom Hearts 4. I know you guys talked about it a lot on the last episode of Press YYZ that you did without me. Kingdom Hearts 4, any interest at all?
Yeah. It has made me want to play a Kingdom Hearts. I think so I've listened to a lot of podcasts with people who have talked about it, and just kind of like the nature of the world that this appears to be, which is technically like what's his name, the director of the game,
Tetsuya
getting his
Nomura.
chance to make Nomura getting his chance to make Final Fantasy Versus 13 come hell or high water. He's gonna make it happen, and this appears to be his way to do that. I think that in itself is kind of intriguing. So I don't know. Unreal Engine 5 also, and that looks cool.
I need to see the worlds they're going to.
Are you excited by the prospect of them visiting the world of Star Wars? Because that is one of the big things to come out of this trailer, that it seems like they're going to be visiting the forest moon of Endor.
I think if they see Star Wars and they're in the Star Wars universe and they're in the Marvel universe, I think that brings new fans in. I just really hope they look at this as a restarting point for the story. Or a bit of not a reboot necessarily, but they can let the baggage go from like the last 8 or 9 games.
As far as I understand it, it technically is. It's kind of like the original 3 games and all their spin-offs are like their one contained storyline, and then this is like a new adventure almost.
That's what I'm hoping.
It's the start of a new arc. I see. This is real tough because like I have to be truthful with you guys and say that this game is definitely not going to stand purely by itself. You will have a lot of references to prior games in the series, but I also do hope that you are right to an extent, Nathan, and that you do find this game approachable all the same in spite of that.
Like, and I played Kingdom Hearts 2. I beat Kingdom Hearts 2. Even with that terrible, like, first 4 hours where you play as Roxas. And you're like, this isn't right. That's like one of the worst opening scenes of any game ever. It gets good after that.
I have complicated thoughts on that sequence, but we won't get into them now.
Is it as complicated as playing Halo 2 for the first time and suddenly you're playing as the Arbiter? And you're like, what the fuck is happening? Fuck this.
No, it's... Wait, hold on. Did people really hate the Arbiter sequences when they played Halo 2 for the first time?
Yeah. They really didn't like them because they wanted to play as they wanted to play Halo and they wanted to play as the Master Chief. The Arbiter bits were a well-kept secret right up until, people started playing it. It didn't leak or anything.
See, I understand like frustration over the last mission of the game being an Arbiter fight. And Chief being relegated to the final cliffhanger cutscene. I get being upset about that.
Sir, finishing this fight. Yeah.
But I was like, and mind you, I knew that this was a twist going into Halo 2 when I played it for the first time, but I really thoroughly enjoyed those missions. I'm a little bit surprised to hear that people didn't really love it.
I was there, man. I was on the front lines. I didn't hate it, but I enjoyed my time with it, but I would have preferred more Master Chief, and yeah.
I would to kind of just briefly put a bow on the Kingdom Hearts 2 opening stuff. I think a better comparison is that it's kind of like the twist in Metal Gear Solid 2 where you're revealed to actually be playing as Raiden. It's sort of like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's even a little bit more different because you do get to Sora. But you just have 4 hours you have to play as Roxas before you get to Sora, and you don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, I bring up the Metal Gear Solid 2 comparison because in both Metal Gear Solid 2 and Kingdom Hearts 2, like a huge component of these switcheroos at the beginning of their game is you, the player, kind of being intentionally left in the dark in terms of what's going on. The game trying to intentionally kind of befuddle you. Whereas I don't feel like the Arbiter comparison in Halo 2 is super apt because it's never unclear who the Arbiter is or why you're playing as him or what his objective is, basically. I understand why people might have been a little bit frustrated because obviously Chief's awesome and you always want to be in Chief's shoes, but at least Halo 2 isn't trying to like kind of keep you completely and utterly perplexed in the way that like Metal Gear Solid 2 was when all of a sudden you're playing as Raiden.
Yes and no, because like I said, it was such a well-kept secret, right? It's just in Metal Gear, it was you play the first mission, which is almost a tutorial, and then it's all Raiden after that. Where Halo, at the very least, you would go back and forth playing between the two perspectives as they told the story.
See, now I feel like we need to get you playing Kingdom Hearts 2, AJ, because I feel like I really do think it is quite a bit different from how you're envisioning it in your head. But yeah, I don't know. We'll figure it out at some point.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, but getting back to like just like I played Kingdom Hearts 2. If they got Marvel and Star Wars in it, I'll be down to give it a try at the minimum. So,
all right. Well, unfortunately, it's probably going to be a little while longer before we get Kingdom Hearts 4. People were joking a lot about how like, oh man, we're going to get Kingdom Hearts 4 in like 2038 or whatever. It's like we're not getting it this year. We're not getting it next year. I don't think it's going to take all the time in the world. Kingdom Hearts 3, had a very fraught development
2027.
cycle. I think...
I'm not trying to be joking either.
I think it will be announced for 2024 and it will get delayed to 2025.
Because here's the thing, and sorry, and Kozi, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm going to go into the soapbox for a second. Square hasn't released Final Fantasy 16, which was supposed to come out last year. There's also Final Fantasy Remake or 7 Remake.
This is also
2.
I mean, I do also think that Final Fantasy 16 has been a bit of a casualty of the pandemic, though.
I'm just saying this pushes everything down. Like your goalposts are going to be pushed down here. They still need to release Final Fantasy 7 Remake, which has been in like theoretically there's been, I guess, not an official announcement, but they've said it's coming. Like number 1 wasn't finished. And I just feel like this is something they probably could have kept to their vest for another 2 years easily.
And show us a trailer. Show us a trailer actually in Unreal 5 instead of this. This I believe was in Unreal 4.
It was, yeah.
And then that said the real game will be in Unreal 5.
Again, I don't deny that this game is going to take a little while, but I do think that the egregious wait that we had to wait for Kingdom Hearts 3, even after that game was properly announced, I think that was a very specific circumstance. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic is also its own specific circumstance, and that will continue to adversely affect things. But like, I don't feel like we need to look to Kingdom Hearts 3 and what happened with that game as a template going forward of this is how every subsequent numerical Kingdom Hearts game is going to roll out. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
For the I just want to kind of say this right here and right now. I know we all like to kind of like joke about how like, oh man, Kingdom Hearts 4 going to show up in 2038. I legitimately really want this game as soon as possible. Like, I will say it honestly and without remorse that I want to see what the hell is going on with Sora and his weird companions in Quadratum, which the game's trailer establishes is sort of like a weird other world, but it would seem as if it has connections to other worlds, which presumably are not part of the underworld, like the Forest Moon of Endor from Star Wars. I want to know what the hell is rattling around in Tetsuya Nomura's brain, and having these incredibly long development cycles, it addles your mind. And I know that there are other Kingdom Hearts games that are coming out in between then, like the conclusion of Kingdom Hearts Union Key Dark Road and Kingdom Hearts Missing Link. I believe that's what it's called, but that game's a mobile game and the other one's a mobile game too. And I need something that is a little bit more substantial, hopefully that has trophies with it. I know they'll probably re-release all of the prior Kingdom Hearts remix games on PlayStation 5 at some point, and I'll definitely get a kick out of platinuming those games again, even though it's, probably taking a couple years off my life whenever I do so. But please, 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 I know that it is such a trope about how long these games take, but I really want you to know that I really want these games as soon as possible, and I am not ashamed to admit it, and I am not ashamed to hope for a reality in which that does actually happen. All right, I'm done.
I'm excited for you. That was about as much passion as I had as a teenager wanting Duke Nukem Forever.
Oh, man.
Did that work out?
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh, no.
Okay.
So
I have sufficiently cooled down. My water cooling has resulted in my CPU reaching an acceptable temperature. Let's talk a little bit about our YYZ reviewy game, Zero Escape: Virtue's Last Reward. Now, we announced that we were all going to be playing this game together, or at least, picking it up and playing around with it a little bit if we had previously played it 3 weeks ago on this show. And we all made an attempt to do so. Correct, AJ?
AJ wasn't
I
here
was
for
not
that.
on.
That's not fair.
I was not on that episode, and I did not listen to that episode, even though I edited it together. I believe that was when I was still recovering from COVID. So anything I did or didn't do during that time cannot be used against me or used against me in a court of law. So I think that's how the law works.
Are you still gonna try and give this game a shot?
I am going to listen.
Full spoilers. I have not beaten this game. Well, I guess that's not. I can't really say full spoilers if I'm about to reveal that I haven't beaten a game. Spoilers for the discussion that we're going to have in a moment. I have not beaten the game yet, and so I will continue to play this game over the course of the next few weeks, maybe months, depending on how long it takes me. So there will still be ample opportunities to talk about this game in the future. We're not closing the chest on our discussions of Virtue's Last Reward with this episode.
I am going to sit back and listen to you guys talk about it and see if you guys can somehow convince me just by listening to your conversation about it. Pretend I'm not here and pretend I'm just listening to the podcast itself. Tell me about this game.
All right. Well, welcome to another one-on-one episode with Nathan and Kozi. Nathan, how are you doing today?
Ooh. I'm not. I'm doing pretty good. I don't know words.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to everybody else. They all died of Wynn's disease on this episode. So it's just you and me for now.
At least the snakes didn't get them.
Tell me, Nathan, a little bit about Zero Escape: Virtue's Last Reward. I'm most curious, what kind of prompted you to play this game in the first place back when it first came out?
So, yeah, I hadn't played 999. So if you guys aren't familiar with Virtue's Last Reward, this is a series called Zero Escape. The original one was released on the DS, and it was called 999. 9 doors, 9 people, 9 doors, 9 something else. I can't remember. That's the subtitle. And essentially, it's a virtual novel with escape room elements in it. And I skipped it. I heard it was cool. But then Virtue's Last Reward hit. And I don't know if you're familiar with this device. It's called a Vita. Have you heard of this, Kozi?
I have heard of the Vita. I just want to say quickly, so the original game, which was 999, 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors, it was one of those games that, like, I feel like kind of unfortunately kind of launched wrong place, wrong time, where it was super duper well received, but I feel like not a lot of people in the moment were like, hell yeah, I'm going to go to my Nintendo DS to play a like harrowing visual novel about people trying to escape death-defying sort of situations. It was a few years before games like Persona would kind of get people more acclimatized to the idea of a like JRPG visual novel being a cool and hip thing to play. So I don't really like kind of begrudge you for being like, I'm not really interested in playing this right now. It's good that that game got like subsequent re-releases over the coming years on other platforms, because I remember when that game came out, it just kind of being like, man, this sounds really cool, but I don't feel like this game's going to move units on the DS.
Yeah. So I missed it when it first came out. And then when the Vita was launched, not too soon after it launched, I read a review for a game on IGN called Zero Escape Virtue's Last Reward. It was by Lucas M. Thompson, who I have no idea who that is. But it scored very well. They gave it a 9.5 out of 10. And they were like, 999 was incredible. Virtue's Last Reward is even better. Get into the series now. So I went to a electronics boutique and I bought the game without reading much about the game. Just hearing that it was incredible, it looked cool, it had cool art, and it had escape room stuff. And I love escape room type things. We've talked about this before. Very much similar to like an adventure game in a lot of ways when you're playing that type of thing, and same type of things you're looking for. So yeah, that's kind of what got me into it. Like just reading this review on IGN, and I was like, okay, 9.5. I need a good Vita game. This is it.
And
I loved it. I played it. Oh, sorry. I was just answering your first question.
oh,
I wasn't sure if you have more questions. You said what got you into it. Well, I've answered now what got me into it.
okay. Well, I didn't expect you to be quite so literal in the way you answered it, but it's all right. As a host, I got to do a better job of maintaining a steady flow on the show. So yeah, and you enjoyed it.
Yes, thoroughly. In fact, it is now one of my favorite games of all time. It is actually. I'm going to check right now. I'm pretty sure it's my first platinum. If not, it's my second platinum.
Whoa.
I played it from start to finish. I enjoyed it so much that I wouldn't put it down. The story, and I can't talk about spoilers here because you're still going to be playing it, and I don't want to ruin anything. But the story blew me away with what they were able to tell, and don't think I'd played at this point many visual novel style games.
You had played Persona 4 though, right?
Yeah, I don't consider Persona. No. When did Golden release comparatively to this?
Golden released it at the end of 2012.
This released at the end of 2012.
Did it?
Yeah.
I thought it was a few
I don't know. The
years-
reviews from October 2012.
Okay.
Um,
I might be thinking of when they re-released this game on other platforms. That might be tripping me up.
yeah, no, this came out right when the Vita was dropped. I'm just trying to see here if we can get a date. Anyways, they came out around the same time, and I played them both around the same time. I also don't think Persona 4 or Persona 5 are visual novels. Like they feel more like RPGs to me.
I mean, it is definitely like, a melding of genres. It's definitely not like a pure visual novel in the way that this one. Yeah, I definitely can see why you would definitively say this one is and Persona isn't.
June 2012. June of
Gotcha.
2012 for Persona, October for Virtue's Last Reward.
Gotcha. I guess it was like just a little bit more of kind of a slower burn on this one, kind of gaining kind of recognition and acclaim. You said that you don't want to spoil anything. We can definitely talk about the kind of basic premise for this game, though, because as of this podcast, I've completed 2 routes in the game. This game basically has a kind of flow chart that kind of shows you all the various routes that you can complete based on the decisions that you make while playing through it. And I have completed 2 of those routes, and I have basically made my way partway through a third and counting. Basic premise for this game: a bunch of people are kidnapped and brought to this creepy, decrepit, yet seemingly humongous facility, seemingly in the middle of nowhere. You're greeted by an AI that takes the form of a rabbit wearing strange clothing, and the rabbit basically explains, hey, y'all are going to be forced to participate in a bunch of escape room scenarios and games in which
Nonary games.
Yes. And also scenarios in which you have to betray or ally with other people in order to earn points. And if you don't cooperate, or if the points that you currently have fall to 0, y'all will die.
It's a prisoner's dilemma. If you're not familiar, sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting.
No, it's totally fine. And at first, you would think, oh well, in such a precarious scenario, everybody will, try to cooperate to the best of their ability. Everybody will, try and make the choices that are most beneficial to everyone involved. But inevitably, everyone's personalities begin to kind of butt up against each other. It's implied that the person that organized this entire event, an individual by the name of Zero, might be among the people that are participating in the nonary games. And strange things continue to happen. Strange things that I've not fully gotten to the bottom of in my playthrough just yet, although I have managed to yield a few answers here and there. The one thing that I appreciate about this game is, so like, to be totally honest, when I started playing this game, I was not exactly in the best frame of mind. I was feeling a little bit on the downswing, and I was concerned that it was going to be just like a real kind of torture fest. I thought that this game was going to be like the kind of Japanese visual novel equivalent of Saw. And I appreciate that, yes, there are some kind of very dark and harrowing moments in this game. Characters do die. Which characters die, obviously will depend on what choices you make. But there are long stretches of the game where it's just action, dialogue, and reminiscing, and not a whole lot of kind of bloodshed to be found. The escape room segments, in particular, are largely just like they're a little bit creepy, but largely it's just sort of figuring out these complex puzzles with a bunch of props and rooms that aren't particularly reminiscent of, again, to use a comparison, say the kind of puzzles you would find in a Saw movie, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's definitely not Saw. In fact, I think when you get into Zero Time Dilemma, which is the final game in the series, which actually I did confirm this was my first platinum. And I also took a peek at the Zero Time Dilemma platinum. I was the 5th person in the world to get that platinum.
Wow.
I missed it by like 3 days apparently. But yeah, I had an early review code though, so but yeah, I just thought that was a cool little stat. But yeah, no, I think the next game gets a little more Saw-ish in some ways and a little darker, but not in like a negative way.
Okay. I mean, obviously,
So
I'll have to play this game to completion first if I want to, determine if I want to kind of keep going through with the other games in the series. One thing I will say is I don't totally love this. We're going to get into like a couple of nitpicky complaints here, but understand that I only do this because I want to kind of talk through, how you feel about these things so we can kind of arrive at a consensus about them. I don't totally love the fact that the game tends to kind of use the 3D character models for the individual characters like quite a bit. This is a game on the PlayStation Vita, and another big game on the Vita was Persona 4 Golden, and I always loved how that game would kind of position all the kind of 3D character models of the game's main cast in each scene, but then whenever a character would speak, we would get to see their kind of super high quality character art as they did so. And I was kind of hoping that they would do something similar here, and I was a little bit disappointed that they didn't, especially considering that like I've seen a lot of the promo art for this game beforehand, and it was like really kind of gorgeous art, and it was a little bit disappointing that there's not a lot of that in the actual game itself.
yeah, it's definitely an art style choice for me. Like, I don't think it bothered me, especially because I had played Persona 4 probably just before this. Looking at like the timelines of when they dropped. So like I just looked at, oh, this is just a different art style. And it did grow on me. I think this art style grows on me a little bit more. And it is a little more real because with those nice big character pieces in Persona 4, they're very static. There isn't a lot of movement or anything to it. Where they did try to have more movement to these characters. So I get what you're saying though, 100%.
Well, it's the thing where like most of the time I'm not really looking at the character models themselves. I'm reading what they're saying. I'm, looking around the rooms that we're currently exploring, trying to solve, whatever mystery has been kind of squirreled away within them, or mysteries if you want to get all the kind of extra bonus. I forget what they're called in the menu, but like kind of like the bonus pieces of intel that you can collect while playing through the game. But you see them just often enough, and I'm like, like this is. I don't. This game is not ugly by any means, but it's not quite as visually appealing as I was kind of hoping it would be. But
Gotcha.
again, because
I get
it's
what you're
not,
saying.
it's not that big of a component of the overall experience. The heart of why you should continue playing it. I'm not going to like make that big of a stink about it. AJ, I saw earlier that it seemed like you were trying to raise your hand to ask a question. There's something that you were trying to. No,
not me.
well, I was
Is AJ
mistaken.
still here? I thought he left.
I might have just stretched or something, or I was delivered some more tea while I was listening to you guys. So maybe that was it.
Fighting back that
Kozi,
wind disease.
Yep.
I'm going to ask you: is this a spoiler? You've obviously talked about how you've done a few of the paths. Can you explain the paths a little bit better for everybody?
Right. So, throughout the game, you're presented with various opportunities where you can make decisions about how you want to proceed forward. Basically, there are two different types of decisions you can make. You can choose what kind of people you want to accompany you into the kind of escape room style puzzle rooms, or you can also choose who you want to ally and betray in sequences where you kind of get to choose what points you want to add or take away from each other participant's sort of point counter, with the punishment for reaching 0 points, as we talked about earlier, being death. And so depending on what decisions you make, you can kind of end up going down completely different routes than was I don't know.
It's almost like you can see the different like paths that you could have taken.
Yeah.
Like, and you're kind of filling the story in by seeing like you chose to ally in a specific situation. Now you can see the path if you betray and what that looks like and how that changes the story. And it's kind of like you're fleshing out the entire story of the game by following these different paths to completion and finding their endings, if that makes sense. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure book in a lot of ways. And you can continually go back and check out the different paths that you chose not to take. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. I kind of short-circuited for a second there because I wasn't sure what you were trying to ask me to kind of get at. I thought you asked that question like you were posing a riddle for me, and I'm like, all right, have I provided enough information to Nathan now?
No, sorry. I just meant more. You talked about how there's multiple paths, but I want to be more clear about like what those paths are and how you're filling them out.
Gotcha. So yeah, that's kind of the extent thus far. I am enjoying myself. Again, I appreciate that the game is not as kind of bloody and gruesome as I think I made it up in my mind to potentially be. I'm interested in seeing, how some of the game's more kind of tantalizing mysteries unfold as I continue to kind of play through it, and exactly what the like super mega twist is that Nathan, you were previously teasing. I think I kind of might have figured out what it is based on what the kind of opening video for the game teases, but I won't speak it out loud here on the podcast for the sake of AJ's ears and the ears of everybody listening that might not have played it yet. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, cool.
So
sweet.
AJ,
Well, are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, good.
Sorry, was that not clear from my big long-winded explanation? I sometimes tend to go on and on and on and on really long, and I apologize if it's not clear.
No.
All right, great.
Sorry, I got that Blink 182 thing. Yeah.
Blink 182.
Yep.
Yeah, I am enjoying it.
Okay, cool.
So AJ, do you think that you are going to be checking it out?
Watching some of that gameplay and hearing you guys talk about it, I appreciate like kind of your interest and your passion into it. Is it fully voice acted or not at all?
It's pretty extensively voice acted, but there are some moments where there isn't voice acting.
I think more in the escape room scenes. When you're outside the escape room scenes, it tends to have full voice acting.
Yeah.
I'm at a particular phase of my gaming interest where I need less talky, more doey. And judging by what I was seeing, there was a lot of talky on the screen. And it was like, if the voice acting, if the text appears on the screen, I can read it faster than the voice acting is going to and that kind of screws with my head a little bit, and I'm just like kind of want to move on. Whereas if it was just the acting, I could watch it like a cinematic experience. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. How long does it take to beat? Is it another short one?
28 hours.
Yeah. That's Nathan. Like, no offense. Like, I understand this is a game that you feel very passionate about. As you said, it's one of your favorite games of all time. You know, and it's a game that I had been meaning to check out for quite some time, and so I was more than happy to, use this opportunity to finally check it out myself. But yeah, there's a reason why in the lead up to this show, I was like, hey, maybe we can go with something a little bit shorter this time around for our next YYZ review game. Because
that's completely fair.
This game's a little bit on the long side. And I will, again, continue to play it and complete it. No problem with doing so, but yeah.
I will say it doesn't feel like 28 hours when you play it. It definitely. And I guess it depends how much you want to put into it too. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe you jive with it. Maybe you find the escape room stuff really fun. I think those parts really invigorated me, and I enjoyed those parts of that game specifically. So
the thing is that like each of the individual paths that you can take in the game are only like a few hours in length, and you can also like start from certain points in each path and like make different decisions, and those like different decisions can sometimes branch out into segments that might only take like under an hour to kind of see yourself all the way through them. So it's I totally get what you mean. Like it's sort of, I can definitely see how this game will end up being 28 hours, but it's kind of chunkified in a way that it doesn't feel overly long. All right, well,
yeah. Not. I don't know if I'm sold.
Sorry, it could happen. It happens.
I will. Yeah. I've not reached some of the most tantalizing parts of the game just yet, so I'll continue to play it, and who knows, maybe I'll be kind of so elated or so impressed that might kind of spurn you, AJ, into finally checking it out yourself. But we'll have to kind of wait and see to see whether or not that happens.
There's a creepy bunny.
Yeah, we talked about that at the start. It's a weird bunny.
Selling point.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's like, I don't know what it is with these like visual novel adjacent games that they're like, oh man, we have this adventure about a bunch of plucky teens that are in a dangerous scenario, and also we have the mascot character, be it Monokuma, who's like a devious bear, or the rabbit from this game whose name is like, the main villain is Zero, but the rabbit is called like Zero Junior or something like that. And then you also have, I mean, not exactly on the same wavelength, but Teddy is kind of a creepy character himself, at least when you kind of first meet him at the very least.
He's always creepy. When he becomes human, he's creepy.
Well, kind of creepy in a different way, but we don't need to get into that.
He's creepy with the girls, like in a really creepy way.
All right. Well, everything that we wanted to discuss on this episode has been discussed. No more regrets. No more regrets. All right.
No,
well, in that case,
No regrets.
No regrets.
Regrets.
No Rugrats. No Rugrats.
No,
Rugrats
it's too
is a
late for
great
that.
show.
Are you done?
No.
All right. Keep going.
No.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to Press YYZ. If you enjoy this broadcast, be sure to follow us on Twitch, subscribe to us on YouTube, and review the show on your podcast service of choice. You can check us out on Twitter at PressYYZ and slide into our Discord server at invite.gg/PressYYZ to keep the conversation going. Until next time, thank you for playing.